Well, good morning, Three Creeks Church. My name is John Scott IV, and I get to be the Connections Pastor here at Three Creeks, where our vision is to help people to find and follow God. I want to welcome you back. We are in week 4 of our sermon series that we are calling Chasing Wisdom. And this video that you're currently watching is just part 1 of this week's message. We also offer a part 2 that can be found on our website at threecreekschurch.com, on our Facebook page, or wherever you get your podcasts. We don't want you guys to miss out on it. Make sure you check both of them out. You know, we have always set out to be a church that is generous and loving. And despite the times that we find ourselves in, we're not able to be face to face or do a lot of events locally in our community, we have still done just that, fought to be generous to the people and serve the people in our community. And so what we came up with this was this project that we called Hope in a Box, where we took literally a box and filled it with amazing necessities and things that will be great to help people in a time of need. And we filled them in these boxes and we handed them out to people in our community that may be struggling in this time. And I want to thank you guys, Three Creeks, for your generosity and your love. Because of that, lives have been impacted greatly, and they have had the opportunity to experience just a glimmer of hope in such hard times. And so I thank you guys for your constant generosity, your constant giving, that we are able to still serve our community, although we're not together. So thank you guys a ton. You know, with the summer comes t-shirts and tanks. And I want to remind some of you guys and tell some of you for the first time to go to our website at threecreekschurch.com or to our Instagram page and check out the new apparel, swag, sauce, drip, whatever you want to call it. We got new shirts, bro tanks in. We want you guys to buy them. Make sure you check them out. They're amazing shirts that you're not going to want to miss out on. Know that the pre-order is up to July 5th. So make sure you jump on that, check out those shirts and get you one. You know, if you want to partner with us in helping us in our vision and helping people to find and follow God, I want to invite you to consider giving to our church financially at this moment. There are 3 ways that you could do that. You can give online at threecreekschurch.com. You could give by texting a dollar amount to the number that's here on the screen, or you could mail a check to the address that's also here on the screen. In a few minutes, Joel is going to come through and give us our message. But before he comes, I want to give you just a few minutes to consider giving to our church financially.
Creeks. My name is Joel. If you are watching this or listening to this, we just want to say welcome to Chasing Wisdom, week 4 here at Three Creeks Church this summer. Before we get into today's message, I wanted to share 2 things with you, 2 housekeeping items, if you will. The first is that I just wanted to publicly thank John Scott IV, our Connections Pastor, and Mackenzie Davis and their whole local impact team for loving and serving Gehenna through the last year and especially the last few months. They just completed this thing called Hope in a Box, where they gave these these COVID care kits to families that are in need. And that puts us, this year, we've given away over $36,000 in local impact ministry to people in our city. We landed here and we said that we wanted to be a church that if we left Gehenna would miss us. And we realize that takes a long time to do, but we are well on our way to being a church that is sincerely impacting our city and being outward focused and not just focused on ourselves. Through the Gehenna gift shop, through English classes at Goshen Lane, through Hope in a Box, and through all kinds of other things, we've been able to make an impact. And so I'm very proud of them, and I'm very proud of you for propelling us to do that, because in 3 days is the end of our fiscal year, which for those of you that don't know what that means, like I didn't know a few years ago, it's just the end of our annual budget calendar. It ends on June 30th. And about 16 or 17 months ago, we prayerfully and thoughtfully and full of faith and trying to be responsible, we came up with the number that we thought our church would kind of have an income of $370,000 through the people in our church who are giving generously. We thought that that's what we were going to be able to use to do ministry. Obviously, that covers the salaries of our staff, renting facilities, and a lot of ministry, local impact ministry, global impact ministry, generosity to people that are in need, like all kinds of things that are going on. And we just believed that $370,000 would be that number. Well, after 11 months, you have given $346,000. And so there's $24,000 that we are trusting that God will bring in the month of June. And so if you call Three Creeks Church your home, if you believe that we are helping people find and follow God, I guess I'm just asking if you would prayerfully consider giving a Three Creeks year-end financial gift to help us end in the black and really kind of propel us into what is next for our church. So if you call Three Creeks Church your home, I'd ask that you would consider that and help us to end the year in the black. To those of you who have given generously this year to our church, I just want you to hear me say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for believing in our church, in our vision, in me. And I think that as a young church, we're off to a great start, and that has so much to do with you and your generosity, and I can't wait to see what happens next. So there's that. Enough fiscal talk. Let's talk about something else. How about sex? Let's talk about sex. It's week 4 of Chasing Wisdom. I know what you're thinking. Is it okay to talk about sex at church? Well, the answer is yes. Does God say anything about sex in the Bible? The answer is yes. Should my young kids be watching this message with me? The answer to that is probably no. This is going to be PG-13, and I think either you should watch this at another time or you should put them in another room, because we are going to get into it. We kind of say that nothing is off limits here at Three Creeks, from the bank account all the way to the bedroom. We think that God has something to say about every area of our lives. And so today we are going to talk about sex. I should probably say off the front here that I am way into sex. I love sex. I can't think of anything I love more than sex. I don't think you'll find a pastor that is more pro-sex than me. God created it, and he says a lot about it. And so today I just want to break down what God says in the Bible about sex. In Proverbs, there's actually 3 whole chapters, Proverbs 5, 6, and 7, that all tell this story about a father who's trying to share wisdom with his son about avoiding sexual immorality. Sex is something that all of us are thinking about. I read something that said that a man thinks about sex every 6 minutes, or maybe it was seconds. I don't know. Either one of those. It's probably pretty close. We're all thinking about it. 25% of all Google searches in America are sexually related. And so since we're all thinking about it, since so many of us are talking about it, we ought to go to the Bible and go, God, what do you have to say about this? Here's the hardest thing about talking about sex with, a church like ours. It's because everybody is having a totally different experience with sex right now, right? Like, we have married people who wish that they were having more sex. We have unmarried people who are having a lot of sex. We have single people who want to have sex so bad. Like, that's why they want to get married. We have people that have been married for 30 years and they're going, now what? What does that look like for us now? We have people that are married and they are living the dream. They're having all the sex that they want to have, and it is going well. We have people that just got married and they're going, man, I thought this was going to be better than this. We can't figure this out. Can somebody help us? We have people that are married now, but they had a lot of sex before they were married and they kind of don't know what to do with that. We have people who are giving their children, their high school and college children, the advice that they should test drive the car before they buy it. That having sex with somebody before you get married to somebody, that would be a good idea. We have people that are married who are thinking about having sex with somebody else, having an affair. We have people who are having homosexual feelings, having same-sex attraction. What do we do with that? We have people who have been abused sexually and continue to live with that pain in their life. We have a lot of people, and I know this to be true, young, old, guys, girls, every age, both genders, who are regularly and habitually watching other people have sex on their phone, on their computer, on their TV, looking at pictures of it and watching videos of other people having sex. But the point is that every one of us is interacting with sex, not just in one way, but in many different ways. And so it makes it hard for me to try to address every question that you have about sex in a 20-minute message. So I want to take what God says in here, and I want to just draw you a really simple diagram. And I want to show you how God made sex for us to enjoy. This is the bottom line. God made sex, and these are the boundary lines. One man and one woman. This is how God drew it up. God invented it. He created it for us to enjoy. And he said, you ought to enjoy this in the context, within the guidelines of one man and one woman. And everything outside of this box is sexual immorality. Everything, every thought, every action that is sexual, that is not in the context of this right here, this is sexual immorality. Jesus even said that if you have a lustful thought, you have committed adultery in your heart. And I know that there's somebody watching right now going, geez, Joel, you're kind of making this a really big deal, and you're being harsh. You're being harsh. And I just want to plead with you for about 12 minutes to not believe that lie, that this is a big deal in the eyes of God, that he wants you to enjoy sex, but he wants you to enjoy sex how he created it to be enjoyed. Proverbs 6 says this, a man who commits adultery has no sense. Whoever does so destroys himself. What this proverb is saying is that anything that we do that is outside of this box, this is adultery, and we destroy ourselves. We have no sense when we do it. You know, sex kind of gets a bad rap at times. It's pegged as a bad thing that, you know, anytime I hear somebody say sex is bad or sex is from the devil, I just picture God in his office. He's got the patent for sex in a frame on his wall because God made it. He made it for us. And so today's big idea is this: God created sex, so do it his way. What's ironic is that when the inventor of sex tells us how to use it, we get all upset and we say he just doesn't want us to have any fun. But we don't use that logic anywhere else. Like when we go to Home Depot and we buy a chainsaw and they give us the manual that comes with it, we don't throw it back and say, you don't want us to have any fun. No, we kind of innately believe that Home Depot is looking out for us and they don't want us to chop our legs off with chainsaws. And so we kind of believe the best about them. But when God tells us to use something that he invented, we go, no, you just don't want us to have any fun. You want to rob us of pleasure. It doesn't make any sense. I think some about my son Judah. My son Judah is 2 years old. He had his birthday a couple weeks ago. And if there's anything in the world that my son loves, it is John Deere tractors. I mean, he is way into it. I'm going to go into my house a few minutes after I'm done filming this video. And within 10 seconds of getting in there, he's going to say, ride. And for those of you that know Judah and have spent any time with him in the last 6 months, you know that he's way into John Deere tractors. So for his birthday, we got one of those battery-powered, toddler-sized John Deere Peg Perigo tractor gator things. And, you know, it was so fun to give it to him. As the gift giver, I was so excited to give that gift to my son. Now, there's two things that Judah could do that would really cause me to scratch my head and bring me to the point of being kind of angry about it. The first would be if he would not listen to me. I told him he can drive anywhere in this whole yard. But if he were to drive through that gate right over there, and he were to drive out onto McCutcheon Road, I would just be so frustrated. I would be so sad. I would be so angry that even though I gave him this gift, he did not see that it would do him well to listen to my wisdom and to not drive out onto McCutcheon Road and get himself killed. That would be the first thing that would just cause me to just kind of writhe in sadness and anger. The second thing would be if my son just looked at it and never drove it. If he just looked at it and never drove it and wasn't interested, I would go, why aren't you using the gift that I gave you? I want you to just drive it. I want you to drive it all day, all night. I'll recharge the battery for you when you need to. Drive it. First gear, second gear, turn the lights on, leave the lights off. Doesn't matter to me. However you want to drive this thing in the context of this yard, I am 100% in, Judah. I'm talking to the married people right now. I'm talking to the people that are in this box, one man, one woman, and they're married. And sex just isn't a regular part of your life. I just believe that God's going, wait a minute. I gave you this to create this intimate union of a husband and a wife. And I want you to use it. I do believe that he's scratching his head going, what are you doing? I gave this to you as a gift. Why aren't you using it? I think both of them don't honor the Lord. And so for Judah, I just want him to know that I don't not want him to go out on that road because I don't want him to have fun. I don't want him to go out on that road because I don't want him to die. Proverbs, I read it a minute ago. Whoever does this destroys himself. And I told you in Proverbs chapter 5 and chapter 6 and chapter 7, they're all about sex. And there's this picture of this father giving his son this wisdom about avoiding a relentless temptress, a woman who wants to solicit this guy into sexual immorality. And the father's begging the son, don't do it. This is what he says to him. Her house is a highway to the grave, leading down to the chambers of death. Three Creeks, what I'm trying to tell you is that our lives are on the line. Our lives are on the line. And when we tiptoe into sexual immorality, when we begin to slip down the path, when we just look once, when we just text once, when we just want to click one more time, when we want to meet one more time, when we say, we're only going to go to third base this time, when we download the app, but we're not going to use it, when we decide we're going to live together, but we're not going to sleep together, when we just take these steps towards sexual immorality, this is what the Proverbs writer says is a highway to the grave that is leading down to the chambers of death. And this father describes to the son, he illustrates what it would be like if he took the bait, what it would be like if he began to walk down this highway to the grave. In Proverbs 7, it says, all at once he followed her, like an ox to the slaughter, like a deer stepping into a noose, till an arrow pierces his liver, like a bird darting into a snare, little knowing it will cost him his life. If you are looking at this today going, man, this is just not that big of a deal, then that's you. That just described you. Little knowing that this is going to cost you your life, because what the proverb writer is saying is that the trap has been set, the noose has been laid, the slaughterhouse is open. And if we're not aware of the enemy trying to get us to do this, then we are going to lose our lives. We're going to destroy ourselves. The bottom line is that you are not going to find what you're looking for outside of this box. You won't find it. What are you looking for? It doesn't exist outside of the box. You might think it's out there, but it's a facade. You're going to end up empty, and you're going to destroy yourself if you engage in sex outside of the way that God intended for us to engage in it. We're going to destroy ourselves, and we're going to lose our lives if we don't listen to the inventor of sex. God created sex, so let's do it his way. I just believe that every pornographic site ought to have a landing page on it where you try to go to it, and it has this landing warning page that says only click further if you want to die inside. I was driving by this gentleman's club, which I think is the worst way to describe one of these places. I was driving by one of them the other day. There's a bench in front of it, and on the bench it has an ad, and the ad was empty. It was like, you can put your ad here. And I just wanted to call and say, I'm going to design an ad that says, if you're thinking about going in here, you're going to die. You're going to die inside, and you're going to destroy yourself, and you're going to destroy the people that love you in your life. One of the people that I look up to in my life. His name is Sean Spolstra, and I got to interview him this week in part 2 of this week's Chasing Wisdom message. And Sean has experienced this personally in his family, and so he speaks to sexual immorality in the way that it can destroy someone's life. Here's a 1-minute preview of my interview with Sean.
I remember sitting at the kitchen table, and my dad was sweating, red-faced. My mother was wondering where he had been, and my mom said, "Stuart, where were you?" And he said, "I can't take it anymore." I mean, these 2 years of illicit sex, illicit relationship behind people's backs, I'm sure some maybe very close friends of his knew or had a suspicion, but he said, "I cannot take it anymore. The pressure is too much." And I've been seeing someone. And my mom, again, a woman doesn't want to believe this, or a man doesn't want to believe it if it's a woman having the affair, but my mother said, "Is it Deb?" And it was Deb. It's one of these kind of suspicions in the back of your mind as a wife or as, called them out. And then at that point, everything changed.
Man, I hope that you will take the time to watch that or listen to that wherever you are watching or listening to this. It's so good and so helpful, and I'm very thankful that Sean did that for us. Hey, as I close today, I just want to address 2 groups of people, and I think that you're probably in one of them. You may not be, but I think you probably are. And to tell you about these 2 groups of people, I want to read you one more verse from Proverbs chapter 5. It says this: "Now then, my sons, listen to me. Do not turn aside from what I say. Keep to a path far from her. Do not go near the door of her house." Keep the path far from her and don't go near the door to her house. This father is telling this son, don't even go close to her house. And the first group of people that I want to talk to are the people that are near the door to her house. And the people that are near the door to her house, they're going, and she's just not that dangerous. It's not that big of a deal to go near the door to her house. It's somebody who's watching this going, this isn't that big of a deal. I don't even know if this applies to me, It's somebody that's watching this going, man, it's just a text. It's just a lunch. It's just an app. It's just one more time. And as your pastor and as your friend, as someone who loves you so much, I want to plead with you to run, to flee, to get out of there, to not go near the door to her house because she's dangerous. She's deceptive. Sexual immorality is creeping at us from every angle in our culture. And I'm just telling you, just don't do it. Don't do it. Her house, remember, is a highway to the grave. So don't go near the door to her house. Instead, run, flee sexual immorality and run the other way. Don't even touch it. Just get away. Just get away. There's an African proverb that I think applies perfectly to this. It says this, that a wildebeest who hangs out with lions is not brave. It is next. It is next. We are not brave when we play with fire. We're fools. We are fools. And so I'm asking you one more time, if you are near the door to her house, to run. Don't do it. Don't destroy your life. Her house is a highway to the grave. And the second group that I'd like to talk to are not the people that are near the door to her house, but it's somebody that's in the house. And I have been around just long enough to know that there's a lot of people that would describe themselves as currently in the house. Or maybe you've just spent a lot of time in the house where you are engaged in sexual sin and you don't even know what to do. You don't even know what to do next. And this is my favorite part of the message. I'm going to close with this. This is why I love Jesus and I love being a Christian. Because there is not one sin outside of this box that is not forgivable through belief in Jesus Christ and what he did for you. If you don't think what you're doing is wrong and you don't believe this is sin and it's not a big deal and I want to do what I want, well, that's one thing. But if you have done some stuff that's outside of this box and you've engaged in sexual sin in your life, if you repent and you turn to Jesus and say, I need your help, I don't want to do this anymore, then the grace of God, it washes over your life and it makes you white as snow. You are made right in the eyes of God. That is a miracle. I mean, that is a miracle. Considering my sexual sin in my personal life, that is a miracle that God could wash all of that away. It's unbelievable. If you don't want to confess your sin and you don't want to repent, then the grace of God doesn't wash over your life. But if you just turn to God and go, in humility, I'm just going to admit I'm scared about what this is going to do to my life. This is where God comes in and goes, I want to forgive all of it. I want to wipe it all away and make you right in the eyes of God. That comes through a personal relationship with Jesus Christ and the confession of your sin to God and to other people. To God. One of the reasons why sexual sin holds so much power in people's lives is because we keep it a secret. And the most powerful sin in our life is hidden sin. And so I want to encourage you that if you are engaged in anything that is outside of this box, to confess it to somebody. And I would just offer myself as somebody that would love to talk with you. I'm going to put my phone number here on the screen. And if you want to talk with me, if you want to tell me something that you've never told anybody else before, I just want you to know that you would not be setting up a meeting with someone who has this all figured out. You would be setting up a meeting with someone who sincerely would love to battle with you, who would love to know where you're at, who would love to point you to the grace of Jesus, and who would love to fight this battle with you. I'm in the trenches with you. I really am. And so I invite you to do that. Man, Three Creeks, I love you so much. I hope this has been helpful, and I hope you see that there is life and life to the full, and it is found in Jesus alone. Have a great week.
Well, guys, I want to thank you for tuning in with us here this morning of part 1 of this week's message. And what a great message it was for us to sit in the truth that God created sex, so we should do it His way. God created sex, so we should definitely do it His way. I want to remind you guys about our new apparel, our t-shirts and bro tanks that you can find on our Instagram page, on our website. Go check those out. Buy you some. Remember, the pre-orders need to be in by July 5th, but you're not going to want to miss out on those t-shirts. Three Creeks, we are so grateful for you. Thank you for your generosity and your love again. We appreciate you, love you. Can't wait to see you back here next week. Take care.